Okay, let's have a look at what's new in Vault 2016. There's 5 main areas that we've focused on throughout the year, but really those areas were driven through customer feedback using the Vault Idea Station. 42% of the functionality within the release was driven through customer requests for new functionality or improvements to existing functionality. So, it's a very powerful way for you as an end user to get feedback to the product teams, ultimately as a community to vote on it and ultimately get it into their product. So if you haven't engaged with the Vault Idea Station and you are Vault users, I suggest you look at it and hopefully go in and review the requests that are there and submit kudos and kudo it so we can get this functionality added to future releases of Vault. So really let's take a look at the 5 areas. So the first one was really being driven actually by Inventor's 2016 functionality called AnyCAD that ultimately now adds the functionality of referencing third-party design tool data instead of, historically it would have translated it into, a dumb model that then ultimately was used in context to the Inventor model. So in this case now we reference it and if there is changes in the originating design data, those changes then through an update within Inventor will flow that data back in and update inside the Inventor model. So a very powerful use case. So with Vault, we want to be able to manage that reference data just like we can with other files. We can check in then these file types and manage them within Vault. Vault then has the ability to use all the same existing functionality with categories and life cycles, revisions and properties to ultimately manage that data throughout its life cycle. So the other key area is then it's the drawing underlays. The DWGs can now be imported and referenced just like the AnyCAD. You can then model off of those 2Ds to make 3D features and ultimately have a relationship back to the starting 2D, and then if there is changes within the 2D model or 2D drawing, they will get reflected back into the 3D model. So let's take a look at a video that goes through that functionality in more detail.
Placing third-party data into Inventor is the new reference model option. Using this option, you bypass translation entirely. It places the native file into the design, and Inventor creates and maintains a reference to the original file. You can then check the assembly into Vault, carrying over the native files, not translated versions. But product design is an evolving process, and changes are inevitable, even for supplied components. Previously, when a translated file was changed, you'd need to replace it in the assembly and manually rebuild the constraints, references, properties, and parameters. Now, when you receive updated design files, simply update the files in Vault and open the assembly in Inventor. Any changes to the model can be updated in a single click, all while preserving the work you've already completed. Within Vault, you can perform many of the same actions on imported CAD data as you can with native Inventor files. File properties can be edited just like other files managed inside Vault. You can also designate categories, apply lifecycle controls, and assign items to imported CAD files so they can be easily managed alongside all your other product data. The new import options inside Inventor 2016 and Vault 2016 makes working with imported design data easier than ever, so you can work the way you want with whoever you want.
So yeah, this is definitely a functionality that as you may be sharing with other design files, how to bring those along and bring them into Vault and really manage them. So it strengthens and supports this AnyCAD approach. I've worked at companies where ultimately we made acquisitions and we had some departments who were using SOLIDWORKS, some Creo, some NX. So ultimately, these different file formats, we wouldn't have to then go in this, initiative to bring everyone over to one file format. We could, basically share and collaborate and use the different file formats within the Inventor world. So let's quickly look at the design copy. This was revamped as well based on feedback from the customers. The basic previous copy design was quite restrictive in what it could do, and they really thought out and looked at all of the functionality that was needed through. I think there was lots of feedback on the copy design, so it's good to see that they've taken all of that and built a very robust, strong copy design that really takes into consideration, managing larger sets of data, being able to do things in a batch mode, being able to even do folder-based copies, which is really good, and ultimately, apply auto-numbering schemes and put rules around property management. And I think one of the real strengths of it is that instead of doing a client-side copy, which would mean all the files would have to be local, copied in and checked in, this all happens at the server side, so there's no file movement between the server and the client, and ultimately you can then do large copies of large design in a very fast way. So let's have a look at the video and see exactly what functionality has been added.
Copy design is the ultimate tool for reusing design data. Based in large part on your feedback, we've made it even better in Autodesk Vault 2016, with an all-new interface that helps you copy design files faster and gives you more control over the entire process. The first thing you'll notice is that copy design has an all-new interface that's designed to provide a familiar experience with the standard file grid, along with all the tools and information you need to execute copy operations fast. The grid itself is fully customizable, so you can add more columns to get the data you need into the window that best suits your individual preference. To improve the efficiency of copy processes, you can now include multiple data sets in a single operation. Multiple assemblies and files can be added and independently configured. You can also specify whether you'd like to copy all the files or just the top-level nodes, and whether you want to include library files or non-CAD files in the copy. We've also given you more control over how individual files are handled. You can manually specify whether files will be copied, reused, or removed, and you can also replace files as part of the copy operation, which you can now do using files that would be created as part of the current copy design procedure. We've also delivered on one of the top customer requests, automated file numbering built directly into copy design, which removes the need to perform a secondary step after the copy completes. In addition, you can also specify category and property settings for files as you set up the copy. To provide a clear picture of all the configuration actions that will be carried out, we've created an action panel on the side of the interface, which helps you identify issues early, such as files unintentionally being edited. The folder panel provides an intuitive view for renaming new folders, moving copied files to new folders, or initiating copy operations by dragging and dropping files or entire folders into the new design. In addition, we've improved the performance of copy design, with all operations now executing on the server itself, removing the latency experience when having to download and upload all the affected files. In all, we've implemented 15 of your suggestions from the Vault Idea Station into the new copy design tool. We thank you for your feedback on how we can continue to improve the product to better suit your needs, and hope you enjoy using the new design reuse tools in Autodesk Vault 2016.
So as you can see, lots of functionality being added to the copy design. I think you really have to get in and start using it to really see the power of it. I mean, he didn't mention it in the video there, but the fact that you can view the files that link to every assembly or child part, and see what's connected, and also copy them as a package gives you the ability to do a complete package of data and do a complete copy over and rename, and then it really starts you off with that starting point that ultimately will make it easier for you to make changes and ultimately get your documentation out much faster, accurately, and better. So very powerful. So I suggest you, if you can, upgrade to 2016 and try out that new feature. So let's look at the unified lifecycle engine. So I think from the survey, most of you are using document revisions And ultimately it's taking the same engine for life cycles on documents and applying that to the items. Previously there was only 4 states on the items. It was quite restrictive on how it managed its life cycle. It wasn't flexible at all. So they've basically rewritten the engine. It's the exact same as the document lifecycle, which gives you all the same capabilities around security, transitional actions, quite a lot of functionality. It even allows you to apply your permissions from the items down onto documents. Also being able to look at history and seeing changes between releases. And ultimately, when you create a category, it allows you to choose then what category you want to pick. Previously, when you created an item, it was always the default. I think document was the default, and then now you can pick and choose which categories you can apply it to. And as you know, categories are completely configurable. You can define them to suit whatever your business is. And one of the big requests was also this property write back from the item back to the documents, so you can map those and ultimately synchronize them through your CAD or your client or through a job server. So let's take a quick look and see what functionality the unification of the life cycles is given.
For several releases, lifecycle definitions have been available in Autodesk Vault to help you specify and control the steps files go through prior to being released. With Autodesk Vault 2016, we've extended the use of flexible lifecycle definitions to help you better manage item lifecycles as well. Let's take a look. Within the administrator controls, you can now create multiple lifecycle definitions for each item category, giving you more flexibility to define custom release processes aligned with how you handle different types of items. With Vault 2016, we focused on creating a single unified experience. So lifecycle definition for items works exactly the same as it does for files. Lifecycle states can be added or removed, actions can be specified to occur automatically during a state change, and security settings can be applied to ensure only the right people are able to transition items from one state to another. Additional security options are also available to control who can view or edit items based on their current lifecycle state, so you can make sure only the right people have access to the item at any point in time. You also have the option to extend the security definition to include the files associated with each item. Once you've created the lifecycle definition, you can then easily configure the item categories it applies to and set the default lifecycle scheme. The unified lifecycle controls in Vault 2016 provide a consistent experience for both administrators and users, helping you better manage the release of your files and items.
So for those who in the survey said they weren't using items, they were only documents, so really I would take a look at this new functionality, because it really sets you up to be able to use items with bill of materials and ultimately then transition that through to your planning system. So let's have a look at what the BOM enhancements they've done, which really go in hand with the item functionality to really give a functionality that's very important in the whole workflow from engineering to planning and manufacturing. So the previous BOM management was very sort of restrictive in the sense that only release data could be released to the ERP system, but we've re-looked at that and taken the feedback through the data station and really addressed the issues around multiple BOMs being of the same item, being able to put property information that's related just to the bill of materials, and ultimately then provide flexible reporting. So let's take a look at what that functionality looks like.
Let's take a look at some of the enhancements we've made in Autodesk Vault 2016 that provide additional information and more flexibility with how you handle raw materials inside your BOM. When working with merged BOM rows of raw materials, it's helpful to view how much and how long each component is within that group, in addition to the total quantity required. In Vault 2016, we've added 2 new system-defined BOM row properties, item quantity and unit quantity, that provide this information along with new icons to make it easier to recognize groups. In previous versions of Vault, BOM rows were automatically merged when matching part numbers were found, regardless of how it was set up in CAD. Vault 2016 now supports multiple instances of the same item on different rows, providing the ability to define unique properties to different rows of the same item, such as defining one instance as a spare part. Manual rows for the same item can also be added and are easily identified with the new row type property, which gives you visibility into which rows were added from CAD and which were added manually. To further support this workflow, Vault 2016 also supports custom BOM row properties that can be either user-defined or read-only properties mapped to parameters in your CAD file. It's also easier to edit user-defined properties by directly accessing them in the grid by clicking on the field while in edit mode. We've made two other significant enhancements to bill of materials in Vault 2016. To help you better identify changes, the Compare tool is now available and highlights any modifications that occurred between BOM versions. It's also easier to share information, with the BOM Report tool accessible directly inside the BOM view, where you can use default or custom templates with the option to include custom row properties. With the enhancements to bill of materials in Vault 2016, you not only have the option to include additional information within the BOM, but more flexibility in how you handle the BOM structure for raw materials.
So I mean, as you can see, there's quite a lot of functionality within the BOM world that maybe you haven't leveraged before, and ultimately I would suggest you take a relook at that and see if it's something that you can now bring into your workflow. I mean, the reporting is key. I mean, comparing BOMs is really key, so you can see what's changed. I think you can do that time-based and revision-based, so you really get to see the changes that are happening that are being driven through potentially engineering change or initial design stages, and ultimately get a really good view of what's changing on the products throughout its life cycle. And it's really key, the reporting, to be able to potentially hand that off. And the next stage we'll look at how that we can export that data over into an ERP system. We have experience with integrating with Microsoft Exapta and SAP, which ultimately are the planning and resource planning and material planning systems that are used to drive inventory and suppliers. So tying engineering into that is happening. So you're either probably doing that manually through spreadsheets, and what we're suggesting is you can really drive that through taking the engineering BOM from the CAD and then adding additional materials to the BOM and then ultimately passing that over to the ERP system. So take a look.
In Autodesk Vault 2016, we've made several enhancements to improve your experience to make common tasks easier when working with items and bill of materials, and to give you more flexibility when exporting items from Vault. When working with bills of materials that include hundreds, if not thousands, of items, finding the one you're looking for can be a tedious process. With Vault 2016, we've introduced a new Find panel inside the multi-level BOM view, so you can perform in-context searches to identify the exact components you need to work on. As you change item lifecycle states, you'll notice that the dialog boxes are now the same as those for documents, providing a consistent experience for tasks like state changes, revisions, and categories across both items and documents. We've also improved export, so you can initiate the command in the context of the BOM, and you can now export items in an unreleased state, better supporting a long lead time procurement process. In addition, custom BOM row properties can also be added, and it now supports the export of attachments, including DWF and PDF files. Many of these enhancements are based on your direct feedback, aimed at improving the overall item and BOM experience and providing more options to best suit your individual workflows.
Okay, so let's look at the last functionality that was added, and that was really to try and extend Vault to more than just the engineering design department. And it's really to bring in the other departments that consume that data or reference that data, which are manufacturing, tech pubs, sales, and project or product managers. So to do that, we've basically taken Vault Professional and we've reduce some functionality within it so that you can't check in and out CAD files. But other than that, all the other functionality that you have around managing documentation, marking up, interfacing with change orders, batch printing, being in the approval process, all plays out through this thick client. And ultimately, I'll explain the different versions of the product that ultimately we see that will satisfy not only the engineering department but all the other departments within your company. So let's take a look at this video and I'll give you a highlight of the functionality within the Vault Thick client.
With Autodesk Vault 2016, we focused on providing extended team members who are not regular CAD users more capability to manage their own data and participate in engineering processes with a new thick client for Autodesk Vault Office. Vault Office is a great way to manage all your quotes, specs, maintenance reports, operating manuals, field service reports, assembly guides, inspection reports, and any other non-CAD file. With integration into Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook, you can track and manage all your documents and important email communications in a single location and associate them to the relevant project or design files. Vault Office also includes the same searching and revision management tools available for CAD files to help you find files and control iterations of all your other documents, secure, release, and track file revisions, and grant team members access to only the right files. The Thick client also helps extended team members participate more easily in engineering processes. For example, you can participate in the design release process by reviewing design files using the built-in viewer and modifying lifecycle states. Change orders can be initiated and instructions provided to the engineering team by attaching supporting documentation or marking up the design inside the client. You can also access bill of materials and items so you can create BOM reports for production documentation or participate in the release process for items. The new Thick client for Vault Office provides more of your team members access to the powerful data management tools available inside Autodesk Vault.
So really, the Vault Thick Office client will, really bring in the non-CAD users who may only come in and out at different periods. So, it is licensed concurrently, so you could have, one or two licenses that serve a team of 5 or 5 different individuals that can come in and do their work. Typically, we say for the CAD, it's usually one-on-one with a CAD engineer or designer to Vault Professional. And then ultimately, we haven't taken away the Vault Web client, which is ultimately the read-only portal that your consumers can come into your Vault. They can see only the release data. They can view the renditions that are generated and ultimately consume that data, which, making sure that they have access to this reference data is key to be able to make sure that they get it when they need it, because they'll also have these fast finding, being able to search against descriptions and what have you to get the data. So it's really about getting the data to the right people and the right person and being able to do their job. So in summary, these 5 main features are covered. I mean, there's probably a lot more functionality within Vault that is that you'd have to investigate, and really it'll take more than just 1 hour to be able to go through all of those. But really, there's lots of key functionalities and usability, and really, it's definitely a great release to move up on. And like I mentioned before, Vault is just a tool that ultimately manages your data, and ultimately people have to interface with that and put data in, and really then your processes make up that. So really your IP is through your processes and your data and how your people who know that interface with it, and Vault is just really a tool to be a platform for sharing and finding and reusing. So with the equal combinations of all of these done correctly, you'll find efficiency and productivity of using Vault to help your process. Lots of information out there on the web, freely available. There is blogs. One is Under the Hood. There's, Vault has been around since 2002. Lots of material up on Autodesk University. There's lots of classes that you can go and see other customers' implementations and success. And then ultimately, YouTube, we have more and more partners publishing data, putting data up there. The one that's hosted by Autodesk is called the Vault Knows All. So have a look at those places. You'll get lots of information about these tools and features. Also, the Autodesk Knowledge Vault is really where we want to put everything about our products into one place, because there's so much content being created today through blogs, forums, screencasts, YouTube. Really, if we can have one central portal to be able to find those and serve them up to you, that's the best mechanism we see to deliver that. We also have, developers and resellers who develop functionality to, improve and increase the capability of Vault, and that's all published through the App Store. One that I would recommend you take a look at is Caddic Organize. They've taken a lot of the functionality that was posted through our open source website, and they've packaged it into a product that ultimately adds more functionality and features that really should help the workflow. So in August, we're going to have a Autodesk University. Typically, this happens in America once a year, but we're bringing that event here to Sydney in August 20th and 21st. It's where like-minded customers will come together. They'll share what they're doing, the successes they've had. You'll be able to meet with product managers and basically technical experts who can give you and show you a new functionality and ultimately collaborate on Autodesk solutions as how they can help you be more efficient and productive. So if you're available, please come along, and the website will give you more details on the event. And finally, there's 2 webinars going to happen on Thursday. Ultimately, we'll continue on the introduction and show how to increase productivity through other functionalities within Vault, and then we'll do a deep dive into copy design. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me or reach out to your reseller. They all basically have Vault expertise and should be able to help. If not, you can contact me directly and I'll give you whatever advice I can give you. Okay, thank you for your time today, guys.